Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make tiny improvements to your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon. Hello and welcome to this episode. All right, we are going to get right into it because I am taking a break from our summer interview series. I've had such a great time interviewing balloon professionals from all over the country, but this episode is going to be a good old-fashioned listicle style episode. So I am going to be walking you through 10 things that your website might be missing. So in order to get to all 10, we are going to jump right in right after this break. If you've listened to any episodes of this podcast, you know that I think the most important part of running a balloon business is the customer experience. I like making it easy for my customers to purchase from me and pay me. I like making the process clear, and I like being really approachable and easy to talk to, which is why as a customer, I love receiving that same treatment when I shop for balloons. I love having a party wholesale because they take care of me as their client. They always have recommendations. They treat me with respect. They know the industry, and they make it easy for me to shop and pay. So if you are in need of a balloon distributor or just want to check them out, click the link in the show notes and let them know that the Bright Balloon sent you. All right, let's get into it. The first thing that your website might be missing is your location. This is the most important one and the thing that I see missing all the time, not only from websites, but Instagram profiles. So you should be telling your customers immediately where you are located. We are service-based businesses, so it should not be a question of where you are. If people have to spend more than 0 seconds trying to figure that out, they're going to move on. So you need to make it available on your Instagram profile, on Facebook, but on your website. And I see so many people just forgetting to say where their business is located. So a great place to put this is in the footer of your website. That way it's going to appear on every single page, and it's kind of the logical place people always scroll down to the bottom to see some of that basic information, where you're located, maybe your email address. Some of that basic info can go on the footer. That's a great place for it to live. All right, the second thing is an about page. So a lot of people are trying to have a very big presence in their business, making it feel like you're this big company. And because of that, I see people shying away from sharing information about yourself as the owner and the operator. So even if you have multiple employees, if you have a team, people like knowing about a business, especially if it's a small business that they're looking to support. If you can share any information about yourself, about your story, specifically with a photo included, that helps build trust. The about page is the second most clicked on page on a website other than the contact form. So if people are finding your website, they want to learn more about you most of the time. And if they don't care, they're not going to click on it, but it's a real bummer to be curious about a company and click on the about page and it's just like a generic paragraph about why balloons are great. People want to learn about you. So if you don't have any good photos, set up a photo shoot with a local photographer, have someone take photos with you staged in front of balloons. You should have a good professional headshot, and that should live on your about page. So don't shy away from being the face of your company. That's a huge advantage that you have over Party City or a bigger party supply chain. Like, people are coming to you probably because of you. So it's okay to tell them who you are, why you're the best choice, why you got started in balloons, and don't be afraid to show your face on your website. All right, the number 3 thing that I still see people missing on their website is a contact form. So if you are telling people let's say on Instagram, that they need to reach out to you by email and they need to include when their party is, what they're looking for, what their budget is. Like, that is too much for people to remember. It's much more likely that they will include relevant information if you have it in a contact form. It's pretty much what we're all used to at this point. So if you don't have a CRM linked up to your website, you can still embed a really nice looking contact form. It'll just send it to your email, but that way you can at least tell people what they need to include. So even if you do have a contact form, sometimes these are so vague. It's like email address, phone number, about, or info. Like it's just like a big blank section that you are depending on your customers to just like write you a long paragraph about what they want. It's much more likely that you will collect the information that you need if you ask for the information you need. So my contact form asks when their event is, the exact address for delivery, what they're celebrating, how they found out about me. My contact form is probably a little bit too long, but not all questions are required, and it gives me a good starting point to start the booking process. Because if someone wants me for a book, like an event that I'm not available for, like say they want me on a day where I'm already booked and they're 2 hours away, that's some really good information to know up front, because I'm obviously not going to continue that conversation. So having a contact form on your website is something that you should look to either having done for you, or if you use a website builder that you manage, there is definitely a plugin or a widget so that you can have something a little bit more advanced than just an email address. All right, number 4, you should have your booking process on your website. So this is one of those things that I see a lot of people forgetting. They have the contact form, but there's no next steps. Once I submit that contact form, what's going to happen? When are you going to get back to me? When can I expect to hear? And how? Are you going to call? Are you going to email me? When is my payment due? When do I officially save my date? Like, all of those details, I would say most people are not even going to read them, but some people will, and it's good insurance. Even for the people that don't read them, if you all of a sudden ask for payment and they're totally taken aback, it's nice that you have that backup to say like, well, it's because on the website, it says that payment is due in full ahead of time. I also put my booking process in my autoresponder. So once they fill out my contact form, they get all that information again via email. But I think people like knowing what to expect. If they're filling out your contact form, are they officially booking, or are they just seeing if you're available? If they aren't ready to confirm their items yet, like they're not sure what they want, but they're ready to save the date, is that an option? Can they do that? I think outlining all of that on your website is great info to have on there. All right, moving on. We are on our 5th tip, and this one is kind of like a bonus. This is like a goodie that you definitely don't have to have on your website, but I find it really valuable, and that is an Instagram feed. So I'm very active on Instagram, and that's where most of my current jobs, my current work is posted. So I have an Instagram feed embedded on my website as like a gallery. So anytime I post on Instagram, those most updated, most current posts are also showing up on my website. So I think this is a great technique because it doesn't require you to update your galleries on your website very often at all. Like, you can have your birthday gallery or your wedding gallery, but then you can also have a gallery of your most recent work, and that stays fresh, and it also keeps it relevant to the time of year. So like if you're doing holiday parties, it's nice to see some of those on your website in December and January without having to like actually go into your website and make those updates. So it keeps things really fresh and really current. All right, the next thing, we have an entire episode about local SEO. So this is something that I can't see on people's websites, but I know a lot of people are missing it. And if you go back to episode 67 with Jeff from Asset Lab, we talk all about local SEO. So basically, a lot of people have these websites But unless you have put your business on like Google Maps or all of the other suggestions that Jeff makes in that episode, people aren't necessarily even going to see your beautiful website. So you want to come up when people search, balloons near me, balloons in this city, balloon arch, in this area. So if you don't have your local SEO set up on the back end of your website, you definitely want to work with someone that can do that for you. Or if you build your own website, like I use Wix, there are settings where you can go in there and it walks you through that entire process. And it doesn't hit you over the head with it when you make your website in the first place. So it's something that you could easily miss. And in doing so, you are losing out on a huge portion of people who are searching for balloons online. So if you have a website and you don't have any of this local SEO set up, that's like essentially not showing up on the map. Like you're not very searchable. So you want to make sure that you are squeezing every ounce of juice from your website, not just having it found by the people that already know you exist, but having it be found by the people that are looking for balloons that don't know that you exist. So make sure to go back and listen to episode 67 if you missed it. It was a really good one with practical steps on how to get this local SEO activated. All right, another episode throwback. Episode 81, I talked about transparent pricing. So what are we on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My 7th tip is to have your pricing on your website. And I talk all about why that is in episode 81. But simply from a consumer point of view, if I go to a website, I expect to see prices. And if I don't see prices, I probably am not going to reach out because I don't want it to be way over budget. Or I just, balloons are really kind of a mystery to most people. I think that we are making things a lot more complicated by keeping our prices a secret. So if you don't have any pricing on your website, I would definitely recommend that you get it on there. And I have resources for you. I have an entire course about how I sell using visual menus. We will put that link in the show notes. And I basically use visual menus with prices on them to help people buy faster. Like I make it very easy for people to see what I offer and how much it is, and it walks them through the booking process very, very quickly. And I get to that point quickly because that's all available to them before they reach out. So part of that is weeding out the people who aren't going to book me because I'm too expensive before they ever even contact me. So I'm having to deal with less emails. I'm not sending quotes to people that have no intention of booking me. So from the very start, I'm already getting a really good group of inquiries. Like the people who reach out to me already know what I charge because they've looked at my prices and they're usually ready to buy. So I have a pretty high conversion rate from inquiry to sale, and I attribute that to my pricing and also that booking process that I have on my website that I already mentioned. So if you haven't listened to episode 81 about pricing transparency, why it makes sense to have your prices available on your website, definitely check that out, and that will be linked in the show notes as well. All right, let's get into one more before we take a break. And this is more back-end stuff on your website. So SEO and keywords on your photos is one of those things that you don't have to do on your website. Like they don't make you do it, so most of us don't do it. So if you build a website, you can upload a photo and call it whatever you want. And because of that, many of the photos on websites are called image 1582355AZQ. Like we download and then we upload without renaming our images. But all of that naming is part of what Google looks for. So like when it looks at images, it's not seeing like, oh, these are pink balloons, unless we are telling it that these are pink balloons. So not only naming your photos something with keywords, but also going into those settings and actually in your website calling your photos something searchable, something relevant, something with keywords, so that when people are searching for a pink balloon arch in your town, your photos are coming up and your website. So photos are like a huge area where we are missing opportunities because it's so easy to do sloppy work. And when you're looking at your website, you can't tell. But if you were to ever like copy and paste or copy and download that image, you'll see some of that sloppy text, and the keywords, when you actually go into like your SEO area of your website, it will give you the opportunity to add keywords. So instead of an image being called like 275aq.jpg, think of naming it Organic Balloon Arch at Rustic Manor in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Like, that is so much more informative and searchable, and it tells Google what it's looking at, and it will then serve that up to customers looking for those relevant things. Okay, so that is the first 8. I have 2 more, and they're really good, but I'm going to take a drink of water, and we're going to take a quick break and hear from a sponsor, and then I will be back with the final 2.
How many Google reviews do you have? Hi, I'm Jeff at Asset Lab. And did you know that we recommend businesses get to 40 5-star reviews on Google My Business before they even start asking for reviews on other platforms? If you're facing competition, we work with balloon decor companies every day, and we can help you figure out what's the right thing to do for you so that you can get more leads, more phone calls, more contact form submissions. Learn more about us at assetlab.us.
All right, welcome back. I have 2 more tips, things that might be missing from your website that you might want to add. And I know this episode is rapid fire, but I wanted to get through all 10 tips to keep this really dense and juicy. If you struggled to keep up or you've already forgotten the first 8 points, really depend on the show notes for this episode. We will have everything listed out. All of the episodes that I reference will have linked so that it reads just like a list of things that you can go and work on your website. So let's finish it out with the last 2. Now, this one isn't something that you have to have. This is kind of like the Instagram feed tip. This definitely isn't something that like you're doing wrong if you don't have it, but it's something that I have added to my website, and it has made a really big difference in building trust. So that is a gallery or some way to connect to local venues and vendors. So I happen to have galleries. I have a gallery that says vendors I love and another one that says venues I love. And it shows my balloons at different venues around my city. It also shows my balloons in collaboration with other vendors. So that would be things like marquee letters or bounce houses or cotton candy carts, like things that I want people to add balloons to, because I am going to do a better job at advertising my balloon services than those other vendors are. So I want that on there. And it also helps people visualize what balloons look like on a bounce house. Does it make that big of a difference? Is it worth the splurge? And then I have a beautiful gallery full of photos and they decide, yes, it is. And the venues really helps build trust. So if people see that like I have done balloons at 20 different venues, one of which they're having their wedding at, they are going to trust that I'm a reputable source, that I have worked at all of these local places, that I have insider knowledge, that I am just as confident about their venue as they are. All of that helps build trust. So having those galleries on my website is something I added a couple years ago that has really helped. And it's also a great tool because when people reach out to me and say, I'm having my event at Lake Lawn, it makes me look cool when I can send them a link and say, oh, here's 20 pictures of balloons at Lake Lawn in your room that you're having your wedding in. So how can I help you? It really helps people see balloons in their space. They feel a lot more confident about what they're purchasing. And a lot of times they end up buying things that they didn't know existed, like hanging jumbos from the ceiling over the dance floor. That's just not something that people are going to think of on their own, but if they see a photo, they immediately want it. So I love having those separate galleries of vendors and venues. All right, and the last one. Now this one surprises me. If you asked me a year ago, I would have said I will never have a pop-up on my website, but I have added a pop-up that opens after 8 seconds. It's quite a long time. So if someone is browsing, after 8 seconds, a pop-up comes up and it says, "Are you having a small event? Check out our grab and go garlands." And it guides them to my grab and go garland page. And that pop-up has been one of the best ways that I have been able to sell my grab and go garlands, because I am now catering to a higher ticket item. I want events that are more in like the $700 to $2,000 range. That's kind of become my sweet spot, which means I am not missing out on, but really kind of turning away all of that lower end business, which is like a lot of business, $100, $200 for the average family. That's a lot of money to spend on balloons. And I don't want to just lose all their business, but I definitely want them to take advantage of my grab and go option. So when I have that pop-up that says, services starting at $100 or decor starting at $100, people have been really likely to click on that, and then that leads them to my grab and go page that is fully automated. So people can book, pay, pick their colors. That is all through 17 Hats. And that has really been a game changer, because whereas before I would have just declined all of that work, that's converting into $500 to $1,000 of pickup sales every single week for me. So that pop-up has been really, really instrumental, as have the grab and go garlands. So if you do not have a grab and go option and you have been dragging your feet, we have an entire bundle ready for you. You could have these up and ready for sale on your website today. So if you missed the grab and go garland episode, my friend Allie from Charming Garlands and I put together an entire bundle that again will be linked in the show notes if you need resources. It has our email templates, all the wording, it has photos of garlands, it has directions, it has a card that you can print out and attach with directions for your clients. So those grab and goes have been a huge game changer for me. But on my website, having a very clear call to action in the form of a pop-up has been a surprisingly effective sales tactic. So before, I would have thought pop-ups are like weird and old and no one is going to click on those, but I think it's because a lot of pop-ups don't have relevant information. Like pop-ups are always like, do you want to sign up for our email address or our email list? And it's like, no, not really. I want to buy balloons. So instead, having the pop-up say, do you want to buy balloons at an affordable rate, a lot of people are clicking on that, and that is taking them exactly to the page I want them to go to on my website. So your pop-up might not bring them to a grab and go website, but it can direct them somewhere else. Maybe it's going to be like, have you checked out our pricing? And that is going to be the first step in getting people to look at your pricing and speed up the booking process. But that pop-up can be a really interesting tool on your website. Okay, so just as a quick review, let's just zip through those again. Number 1, your location. Number 2, your about page with a photo of you. Number 3, a contact form that asks for the information you need to know. Number 4, your booking process. Number 5, an Instagram feed. Again, that's just kind of a bonus, but it's really nice to have on there. 6 is going to be your local SEO. So you don't want to miss out on all of that background stuff on your website. You definitely want to utilize getting your website seen. The next one, pricing. Get those prices up there. Number 7, your keywords and getting your SEO working on your images. Number 8, those local venues and vendor gallery. Again, not necessary, but a really great bonus. And number 10, a pop-up to lead your clients wherever you want them to click. So I hope that episode wasn't overwhelming. I really wanted it to be full of information. Hopefully you can take one of those tips to implement if you do your own website. Most of these things are things that you can implement in a few minutes on your own. If you have someone doing your website for you, we just heard from our sponsor, it was Asset Lab. You can definitely reach out to them. They can implement any of these things for sure. So I will be back next week with another episode. I hope everyone is having a fabulous summer, and thanks for sticking around through this crazy season. Thanks for joining me in this week's episode. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light in a few minutes or less. If you wish there were more episodes, you are in luck. You can join us in our Patreon group for our monthly book club. I record weekly episodes guiding you through a different self-development book each month. For as little as $3 a month, you can join more than 50 other balloon business owners in our private group. Click the link in the show notes to join us. So many of you have reached out and told me how the podcast has changed your business, and I love hearing those stories. But you might be ready to take things to the next level. If that's you, you should check out the laser-focused solopreneur course where I walk you through more than 2 hours of video content showing exactly how I run my business as a solopreneur. I run a 6-figure balloon business, I work a full-time job, I have a toddler, and I produce this podcast weekly. And it's not because I'm more efficient than anybody else, it's just because I apply this laser-focused framework to every decision that I make. If you're struggling with work-life balance, figuring out how to grow your business in a manageable way, and feeling like there just aren't enough hours in the day, this course is for you. Check it out using the link in the show notes.